I apologize to those guys for the distractions, the unwanted attention that probably caused those guys. Obviously, you want to clear out any baggage or any disrespect or unintended attention that was brought on to the organization. These guys gave me an opportunity when I was 21 years old, and forever grateful for those guys. I'm forever grateful and indebted to the Steelers organization, Mr. Rooney, Mike Tomlin, Kevin Colbert, Ben Roethlisberger. I started my career with those guys. A lot of beautiful moments, a lot of positive things. So it's not all bad.
Antonio Brown has been making the interview rounds and appeared on 93.7 The Fan to apologize to his former team in Pittsburgh. Guys, when this is all said and done, I'll start with you, Max. Will AB be remembered for the good or the bad?
That really depends on, if we have to end it now. We can't predict what's going to happen in the future, right? Because his behavior, even these apologies to me sound desperate and not like really someone who's hit bottom and has had some kind of self-awakening, right? So they seem calculated to me. I don't know if his behavior gets even worse. And I don't know what happens legally with some of his outstanding issues. But let's assume for a second, because there is a presumption of innocence in our country, that he remains not guilty of serious crimes. Then this behavior will be contextualized differently. It seems huge to us now because we're in the middle of it. And he certainly, if he never gets back to the league, will maybe be the best example of a guy right in the middle of his prime, completely imploding, and doesn't seem to be about drugs or anything like that. How many times have we ever seen a guy fall from those heights? He put up the best numbers since, you could argue Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, but you could argue Jerry Rice. Antonio Brown, here's some yards, 1499. Led the league, 1698. 1834, 1284, 1533, 1297. Touchdowns, 813, 10, 12, 9, 15 led the league. Forget about receptions, 129, 136, 106. This dude is putting up practically prime Jerry Rice numbers for half a decade. So what I'm saying is when the smoke clears and we're not in the middle of these news cycles, so long as he's not convicted of something really serious or his behavior doesn't spiral down further, I think we will remember him maybe as a cautionary tale. Maybe it's a mental health issue. Who knows? But what will remain standing are the numbers he put up because they've been the best in decades.
Max, I wish you were right because I want AB to get himself back on the right track. And I wish and I hope for AB, who was going to be, in my opinion, he was on track to be a Hall of Fame receiver. I wish you were right, but you're wrong. And you're wrong because the NFL's not a what have you done for me league. It's a what have you done for me lately league. And when you look at Antonio Brown, you're exactly correct. In our legal system, there's a presumption of innocence. But in the court of public opinion, you're guilty until proven innocent. And Antonio Brown, whether he's guilty or not legally, he's guilty as heck in everybody's minds. Whether that's on Twitter, whether it's at the water cooler, whether that's on set of TV shows. He's guilty. Now, let's talk about what Antonio Brown has done besides catch touchdown passes, because we haven't seen him do that since week 1 of the season. Go on Instagram Live. Videos like that running out his house, proclaiming his freedom from a team who just sacrificed a lot and was going to pay him a lot of money. Get accused of serious charges. Get accused and I think put in jail for some other charges. You see right there, that's the whole list of it all. Arrest warrant issued for felony burglary and battery. So there's a ton of great he did on the field, Max Kellerman, but the problem is nobody's going to remember that. When you think of the great receiver, Terrell Owens, one of the greatest receivers of all time, 15,000 yards, 153 touchdowns, the first image that comes to mind is him shoving popcorn in his face at Cowboy Stadium. Now, I mean, I grew up a Cowboys fan, so that's the first image.
In Theo's defense, though, he will be the first to say, please don't compare me to what Antonio Brown.
Heck no, I'm not making that comparison.
You're right.
I'm not making that comparison.
T.O. in that way is a good example.
I'm not making that comparison.
Known by many as bad in the locker room. What I remember from T.O. is the Super Bowl against the Patriots.
Yep.
He was the best player on the field, and he was hobbled, and he was criticized for being selfish, for playing on one leg, and then went out and balled. No, that's what I remember from T.O. Other people who want to focus on other things, that's their problem.
But wouldn't you say the Hall of Fame? The Hall of Fame voters, the most important voters for the most yes, but the most prestigious position in football is to be in the Hall of Fame. And T.O. should have got in there first ballot.
That's right.
Without a doubt. T.O. should have been in that thing as soon as he retired.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wasn't.
That's what I'm talking about. In the media cycle, what will be remembered is what was talked about with the intensity is he wasn't first ballot, right? Over time, the collective memory fades of those kind of things. And what remains is T.O.'s in the Hall of Fame. That remains. Antonio Brown, it's really difficult to answer this question at the moment because I've suspected there's a mental health issue here with Antonio Brown. If that turns out to be the case, people may view this stuff differently.
Totally different.
Now, let me just say one other thing.
Correct.
Being a self-involved jerk and having a mental health issue can be two separate things.
Yeah.
Antonio Brown may be a self-involved jerk independent of whether or not he has a mental health issue.
You're saying he could be both these
He could be both things. But if it turns out that it really is something like that, I think we'll view him differently. If it turns out that none of these charges are proven in a court of law and he makes a return to the NFL because he hits rock bottom and has a genuine awakening and makes a comeback, it will be perceived differently. But so far, what will remain is maybe one of the best records in his prime of a wide receiver who ever lived.
Antonio Brown was a beast. He was a beast. Here's what I would hope, because ultimately it's not about the past, it's about going forward. And Max, you were exactly right when you said some of his apology sounds insincere. The one thing that'll get you in check faster than anything is your bank account. That's the one thing that'll make you realize, you know what? That account dwindling. I might need to apologize and get back on a roster.
Let me get my act together.
You feel me? Like, let me get straight. But here's what I would hope. AB,
you know how much money he needs by how many sorries come out.
Straight up.
I'm sorry to everybody. The fewer qualifications, the more broke someone is. I'm really sorry.
But I'll say this. AB goes on IG Live for everything. Here's what I hope AB would do. When you go see a mental evaluator, go see counseling, go on IG Live for that. You want to go on IG Live, cussing out your baby mama this, cussing out the police for that. You want to go on, you want people to see that there's actually a change. Show us that you're taking the practical and tangible steps. Because I'll say this, it's one quote that I heard in sports that has stuck with me my whole life. Your actions speak so loud, I can't hear what you're telling me. And AB's actions have spoke so loud, they have spoke from a megaphone that we haven't been able to hear what he's actually saying.
History, literature, any kind of serious endeavor when you're trying to study human behavior will always tell you you're defined by your behavior, not by your thoughts. So I get that with Antonio Brown. I'll just say that he needs help, it seems to me. I don't think it's simply him being opportunistic or being disingenuous about, hey, I'm sorry because I need money.
Yep.
I think he's going to have to hit bottom before he bounces, if he can bounce back up. And right now, it's a very sad story.
Yeah.
That's not to minimize any victimization of anyone else.
Of course.
But right now, it's a shockingly sad story.
Yeah. It seems like there's more evolving and learning to do around Antonio Brown. But we'll take a break on that. And coming up on First Take, we're going to get back to basketball conversation as LeBron and the Lakers stay quiet at the trade deadline. But was it a mistake for the purple and gold to do that? Second